Jim Ratcliffe will take a 25% stake in Manchester United. This has been agreed in principle. And the Qatari bid from Sheikh Jassim is done with. The 6 or so billion that he has offered the club has now been withdrawn. And Man United fans all over the world, the majority, in my personal opinion, are absolutely devastated this morning by this news. Many people saw it break yesterday afternoon. I, in fact, took a day off yesterday. I rarely do this. I had a video come out about 8 p.m. last night. It was fairly jovial. It was a little bit of fun. That was pre-recorded many, many hours before. I didn't check social media last night. It was a good friend of mine. We had a surprise birthday party for him. Got a little liquored up with some old friends. It was a really, really good night. And then I leave the party, check my phone, and it rendered me almost sober from a great night with the boys to this empty, harrowing, depressive state. I care so deeply about Manchester United not having a full takeover, not having the debt cleared, continuing to, generally speaking, be run by what can be only described at Man United as parasites, leeches, a bacterial infection that has been eroding away at this football club for the best part of 2 decades will continue. And for me, there's only one group of people I feel are at fault for this. And genuinely, I mean this. It is us, the Manchester United fans.
To understand that the Qatari businessman Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani has withdrawn from the process to buy Manchester United. He and the ineos billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe were the leading candidates to take over the football club from the American GLAZER family. Sir Jim was proposing to buy a majority stake in the Red Devils, which would leave 2 of the Glazers involved. Sheikh Jassim, on the other hand, wanted to buy the club outright and launched what his party described as a 5th and final bid in June in an effort to get the deal over the line. Sir Jim said he has been a fan of the club since childhood. Sheikh Jassim's bid appeared to involve more money, but has also triggered concerns about sports washing.
There's the news, as it were, and there is so much to unpack in this story. So I am going to speak about my claim. I think fans are massively to blame. We'll start with Sheikh Jassim, though, today. And this story has come out this morning that Sheikh Jassim desperately attempted to convince the Glazers to sell Man United, but ultimately the club's current valuation of £2.64 billion was the reason behind the Sheikh's decision to pull out. The club, you'll remember this man bid more than double the valuation of the football club. This man wanted to clear all debts. This man wanted to bring in the best in the business, top of the class, to run this football club, to try and get us back to our former glories, to make us be run well, as well as being financially stable, spending lots of money in the right areas, new stadiums or improving Old Trafford, the training grounds and everything surrounding it. Something we are laughed at and mocked for on such a regular basis. He wanted to do all of this, but the Glazers, and what I can only describe as greed, clubs valued at 2.64 billion, not willing to sell it for 6 billion. They want much more than that. And they want much more than that because they know that fans are never pulling their money. They know they're going to keep selling shirts. They know that there's new TV deals on the way. They know that there's new sponsorships on the way. An example being this: Adidas renewal of its sponsorship was more money. Our shirts, the shirt sponsors, the new one, more money. Why are these sponsors giving us more money? Because our fans keep buying. Our fans keep supporting the Glazers. And Sheikh Jassim just got to a point where he said, look, I want the club. It's not even that much money to him and his family in totality. But they're not going to pay 7, 8, 9 billion, 10 billion pounds for a club that's worth 2.6. And no more should they. No more should they. You wouldn't do it. Nobody would buy a business for 8. You wouldn't buy something for £8 that's only worth 2. You wouldn't buy something for £80 that's only worth 20. So why should they do it? I've seen people kind of attack them, or they should have just paid it. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. But they have pulled out. And my gut feeling right now is just, we are doomed. We are finished. We are dead. And it isn't so much because we can only be successful with a Middle East owner. It's not about that per se. It's about clearing the debt. It's about getting rid of every element of the toxic glazonomic ownership that we have had. And that isn't happening day one, and that pains me. That worries me. It frustrates me. Now, in terms of, and I want to be balanced here, in terms of their takeover, Ben Jacobs here breaks it down and says, more on Sir Jim's 25% offer for Man United is worth around 1.8 billion. He says a breakthrough occurred last month when Ratcliffe restructured his bid. It will now be put to the board to approve next week. Ratcliffe plans to be hands-on at Man United, and the deal is contingent on sporting control. So there's that element there where I was like, okay, well, he's basically saying, you guys run the commercials, I'm going to run the sports element. Some will then look at what he's done at his current club, Nice, and say, well, look, they're not really doing very well. Why is this going to be different? So he's going to run the sports element. Within that, there is going to be a thematic review. It's taken over a 100-day period. It is said right now that Erik ten Hag's job is not thought to be under any threat. A new sporting structure is likely to be considered. Paul Mitchell, one of the names under consideration as a sporting director. These elements here, I think, okay, fair enough. But you know what I can't allow myself to do? Is one, I'm frustrated that a deal has been done where the Glazers are still going to have a huge amount of control and power. The irony in this is, if this works, we will celebrate. Oh, we're getting our club back. It's just going to make the Glazers more money. I feel it's almost like I want this to work. I don't want Sir Jim Ratcliffe to foul. But at the same time, him being successful means the Glazers make even more money out of us. And that sickens me. It is a bittersweet feeling. Part of me wants Sir Jim to be successful. There's another element of me, again, I'm torn, that is frustrated that he has done a deal that has kept the Glazers at the club. If I'm being balanced, though, and I want to represent the percentage of fans who think this is a good thing, and there will be Man United fans that think this. Maybe not the best thing, but a good thing. Maybe with the 25% and full sporting control, slowly that 25% becomes 40%, becomes 60%, becomes 80%, becomes 100%. And yes, the Glazers make money. But if he does bring the best in class in to run the sporting element, maybe, just maybe, we do get our club back per se. It's just going to be a longer process than we would like to go through. And maybe in 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, 15 years, we look back at this and say, actually, it was a good thing. And I hope that's true. I pray that is true. But it's not what my gut tells me. The Glazers being involved worries me. Will they really give Sir Jim Ratcliffe full sporting control? I don't know. I know it's contractual, they have to. There's always a dagger in the back with these guys, though. With the Glazers, there's always something they do. You think, okay, well, they're doing the right thing now. It doesn't quite happen. Man United fans will understand where I'm coming from. I'm struggling to articulate it because I'm so angry. But I'm trying to simmer down, mainly because I've got a hangover and got a headache. But I am genuinely concerned about this. How is this going to work? Will it work? That's what I want to know from you guys. Because right now, my gut reaction is we're dead. What is the 1.8 billion going to be used for? If we are not paying the debt off, both current transfer debt and bank debt, if we are not improving that stadium, which is one of the most iconic and beautiful stadiums in the world, and getting to a point where, 1, it isn't rusting, 2, it isn't leaking, 3, the fans can go to the toilet without being covered in their own excrement, if we're not updating the training facilities, which recently Charlie Savage has said are about the same level as Reading. And I mean this with all due respect to Reading. Imagine a club the size, with the prestige and history and money of Man United, having training facilities only on par with Reading. If the money isn't being used in those areas, again, we're in trouble. Because I do believe we can be run better. We are at a point financially where we are in big, big trouble. The Glazers are not, just with the debt that we have, the current transfer debt and what we owe clubs, we're right on the brink of FFP. And if we're not using that money to free up tens of hundreds of millions of pounds per year, even trying to improve all the things we need to improve. And by the way, the stadium improving, the training grounds improving are going to cost hundreds of millions of pounds. This will improve the football team because it will show the team that the club is becoming serious again. There's a better plan, but money is needed for that. And yes, we have spent money on transfers, but there has been zero investment in other exceedingly important areas of the football club. And as for the fans, I said at the top of the video, I feel like we're to blame. And that's because we keep giving this club money. And I know Man United fans don't like me saying this, but I'm only going to speak the truth. If we fund the club directly, so buy sponsorship products, subscribe to their channels, go on the website, have MUTV, have season tickets, go to games, buy shirts, all of these things are why the Glazers are still here. Whether we like it or not, whether it makes you feel triggered or not is irrelevant. We, the Man United fans, are massively culpable for them still being here. We have the power. My personal opinion is, as a collective, we are just too afraid, too scared, or maybe somewhat lazy, depends on the individual, to yield that power. We are not willing to sacrifice an element of our personal life that we love, an element of our own individual culture that means a lot to us. We are putting going to games or buying the shirts for you and your family and posting it on Instagram. We are putting that above the actual football club. And I love Man United my whole life. When I've lived in Manchester, spent a lot of time with a lot of old heads who've been, some of their granddads helped build the club. And it was amazing to sit there and listen to their stories. And what I was taught overarching was the club before anything. The club should be more important than you going to games. The club should be more important than you all retweeting what they put out or going onto the club website. The club should be more important than an Instagram picture of you in a Man United kit because you think it makes you look like a better fan. And listen, I've said it many times before because people never hear this bit of my speeches. It's not really a speech, my points. That support the club however you want. Support the club however you want. That's your right. But please remember, every time you give the Glazers money, you keep them here longer. Listen, people, I'm gutted by this news. I know a lot of other people are as well. I'll speak to you all soon, people. Bye-bye.